Hi, I'm Melissa Muir. Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to talk about annealing your metal versus not annealing your metal. What does annealing even mean? In this case, when you anneal your metal, you relax that crystalline structure that holds that metal solid and tight. Annealed metal or softened metal will bend very easily. With copper especially, you're able to just pick up your metal and move sometimes just quite like butter. Very, very easy, soft and supple. Whereas metal that is still hard or half hard, you might have heard those terms, is more difficult to move and will break a lot easier. A few days ago, I released a video showing some disc cutters and using that to cut through, cut shapes out in your metal. And often I will get the question of, when do I anneal this metal versus when do I not? As a general rule of thumb, I like to use hard metal when I am going to be cutting or shearing that, whether that is using a disc cutter or even like a pancake die in a hydraulic press. Metal that has not been annealed will shear much easier and you'll get nice, crisp, clean edges. However, if you anneal your metal first, the cutters have a harder time getting through that metal, and that's because basically the crystalline structure within it becomes a little bit more elastic. It moves and it bends easier, therefore it's going to stretch. And at that point, it's harder to get your punch through it, and you also can end up with a lot of burrs that have to be cleaned up as well. Other times you're going to want to anneal your metal is if you are going to be manipulating it quite a bit. So in the cases of things where I have maybe fold formed something, if I want to manipulate this metal by folding it over, bending it, and manipulating it by opening it back up, there will be a lot of annealing that needs to be done at that point. So the first thing I would do is heat it up with a torch, and there's different ways of telling when you've hit that annealing temperature. But heat it up so that you've got to that point, then go ahead, do your folding, your hammering, which is then going to restrict that crystalline structure once again, and it becomes hard and brittle. So then you would need to anneal it again to be able to open that. There are a number of ways to be able to tell when your metal is annealed. One way that I really like, and a lot of people will use, is just simply take a permanent marker, make a mark on your piece, and then as you heat this up, as that disappears, then you will know that you're at annealing temperature. Now, I have been watching my metals quite a bit, so I can tell when I've hit that annealing temperature just by how the metal looks. So let's take a look at that really quickly. In this case, I'm going to use a butane torch. This is just a Jumbo Max butane torch, and I'll show you really quickly. So I'm going to ignite this. I come in and just heat the piece up evenly. And when that Sharpie disappears, then the piece is annealed and ready to go. You can see now things are starting to disappear. It looks kind of like it has, but I still see just a little bit. Go around it one more time, and now we're good. And there also shows a little bit of ghosting where you can kind of see where the Sharpie mark was. However, the Sharpie really has completely burned off. At this point, I can quench that, and you will see very easily I can bend this with my fingers, very, very little effort. So this has definitely been annealed. At this point, I've also just made it a little bit harder by messing with it. So to show you what I look for temperature-wise when I'm doing copper in particular, so this one has no Sharpie. Going to just heat this up. If I pull away, you'll start to see it kind of oxidizes a little bit. But what I look for is when I come over the piece and it looks like it's totally clean copper, even though it's been oxidized. See how it looks like it's clean copper? To me, that tells me that I've hit that temperature. So again, now if I take this, I should easily be able to manipulate this with my fingers.